Today we are back on the GU and we're going to be doing some sneaky little mods to the engine. Now, it is no secret that cold air for a diesel engine gets you more power, and I'm happy with the turbo in this thing. I'm also happy with the injector pump that's on it, but this little intercooler has got to go, not only because it is tiny and doesn't really cool any air, but it just makes servicing hard as well. It is just in the way. And so I'm going to be going to a front mount intercooler. Intercoolers are a funny old thing because you can get ones from $200 right up to kits that are, you know, $5 type thing. And in the GQ, that's one of the $200 ones. I've run enough boost and fuel in that thing to snap cranks and send rods out blocks. You see these massive extravagant kits online, and in my opinion, all you're paying for is the work that they've done to route the pipe work, and that's what makes this a tough job. I am going to go stainless steel again in this thing. Yes, aluminium has better heat properties, but stainless steel can be laid up against anything and it's going to win the fight. I have had aluminium pipe work on my Navara wear through from rubbing on the radiator subframe, and so you've got to be a lot more particular about where you mount it, what it's rubbing on, and you're subjecting it to more vibrations by mounting it to the body or whatever. I understand that aluminium pipework works for lots of people in the world. That's fine. I'd just rather run stainless and let it rub on the everything and know that it's going to win the fight with whatever it's rubbing up against. Now, there is a place in the world for these $4,000 intercooling kits. You know, you have the money and you just want something that is just going to bolt in. You may have to do work to make it fit still, but it is going to be a lot less work than making your own pipework from scratch. There is a couple of ways to make your own pipework. If you go on eBay and type in intercooler pipework kit, you can just get a series of silicon, aluminium, bends, whatever, to make your own. It can be a bit of a headache, obviously, having 11 different hose clamps and silicon joins just for installation, removal, and obviously if you're running higher boost, blowing pipes off, you're just going to chase them around the engine bay. And so it is still a very affordable option just to get yourself a $200 intercooler, a $200 pipe kit, and just route your own pipes that way. Or you can do what I'm going to do, and that is TIG up some stainless steel pipe work custom for your car. I do have a welder that is capable of TIGging up stainless. However, a couple of years ago, one of my mates blew a head on his TD, and he's a really good stainless TIG welder. I had a few TD42 heads sitting in my shed, and I said, yep, you can have one. Just when I come knocking, can you please make some stainless pipes for me? So my job is to mount up this intercooler in the front of the GU, and his job is to connect these to the outlet on the turbo and the inlet on the motor. So that's what we're going to start doing now. There is some things that you need to change and move in the front of a GU. GQs are a lot more simple to intercool, particularly if you don't have like big ginormous winches. But yeah, let's get in there and have a look. I have been involved in intercooling a GU Patrol before, and so I know what's roughly involved. In the different iterations of Patrol front ends, this one is one of the easier ones. I have the narrow radiator, so you can get pipes around the radiator. There is a few things that we still have to change. The thermo fan on the aircon condenser that we will have to remove. People do it all the time. They just rip these fans off and the world continues to rotate. Some other things we will have to change is the power steering cooler. That will get rerouted and changed, which is again really simple. On this side, it's all pretty good. It looks like once we get rid of those power steering lines, it's a clear path straight to the turbo. On the other side, the easiest way to get through there is to put a smaller power steering belt around your power steering pump, so you can move the pump this way and then you can scoot past the pump. Again, because we're using stainless steel pipes, it doesn't matter if it rubs a little bit on the side of the battery tray. I think we're going to start getting this grill off, start getting some of the front stuff out, and it'll start to come together where this intercooler is going to sit. So yeah, I reckon that'll go straight in behind there like that. Obviously not hard up against the condenser. Once this bonnet latch is back there, comes down and then goes across to each one of those. But see how flimsy that is now? That's why you need to use this piece here to tie back into the intercooler somewhere, because that will also stiffen this back up if it gives it this to go to. I think it's going to be easier if I just take the bull bar off, and that way I'm going to be able to line up everything a lot better. I'm not going to have this massive winch in the way, and it's going to have to come off eventually anyway. So yeah, we might do that. Just get it out of the way, get it over and done with, and then I can get in there properly. So yeah, I got the bull bar off and then I stopped for a moment to try and decide where it kind of needs to go and what I need to do. So I've got it roughly mocked up there. It's just a piece of angle iron and a piece of RHS at the bottom, and I've got it spaced up all correctly. I've had the grill on, I've had the bonnet latched, and everything seems to be working out as it should. Now that I know that this is the correct mounting spot, I'm just gonna make nicer brackets in order to get it to sit there properly. While I'm here, I did want to talk quickly about top mount versus front mount and the differences. I've been around a little while now, enough to see sort of different people's opinions. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference performance-wise between front mount and top mount. There is an anecdote out there that front mount does cool better. However, I have seen results that show top mounts getting just as cool, if not cooler, than front mounts. So if we take performance out of it, I think it just comes down to preference. And those preference items might be, do you think you're going to get a lot of mud in it if it's at the front? Honestly, I do the $1,000 truck as much as, if not more than most people, and that's got bog holes in it that are over the headlights. And I've never ever caked my front mount intercooler with mud. It's never been a problem. Being a kettle, it does take up a lot of space in front of the radiator. However, the upgraded fans that we use in these do pull a lot of air, and intercoolers don't stop a whole lot of air, I don't think. So they're probably the downsides to a front mount. If you've got a high mount winch, sometimes it can be hard to get a front mount intercooler and a high mount winch packaged in front of the car, particularly in a GQ, especially if you want to keep your aircon. Obviously, the pipe work is a lot more difficult to get through the radiator support, and yeah, that's probably just about it for downsides to a front mount. And then so we have the humble little top mount. Now, obviously, there is top mounts that you can replace this one with, nice big ones. This one is a pain even just itself, like trying to get the fuel filter out, trying to get the oil filters out, trying to do the tappets. It's just a pain and it's in the way. So that's one downside, I'd say. Just, you know, serviceability of the engine. The fact that you need to move it out of the way every time you want to do something serious. Another one is you got to cut a massive hole in your bonnet. Other than that, I think they're probably the only two downsides to a top mount. I'm not against having one. Like, obviously the pipe work's a lot easier, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, a front mount's what I'm used to. I've got the ability to package it in the front here. I've got the skills to mount it and get the pipes made and all that kind of thing. And so that's just, you know, the way I'm inclined to go. But is one better than the other? It kind of just depends, you know, what you're after. And yeah, don't fall into the trap of letting people dictate, you know, what they think's better than the other. It is purely up to you. Let's make some better brackets and get that intercooler mounted up properly. The intercooler is all mounted. It's not all that sexy. It's just a piece of RHS at the top that picks up both mounts and the bonnet latch. When you are mucking around with the bonnet latch, make sure you get it situated back into the right spot so that it latches the bonnet nicely. What I like to do is to just dust over the bolts with a bit of paint so that you can see where the bolts were before, so that it gets mounted back into the right spot. Then at the bottom, it's just a piece of flat bar, picks up both mounting holes, and then two more bits of flat bar that go down and pick up these two holes down here. As I said, it's not all that sexy, but I would just about recover the vehicle off that. Yeah, it doesn't need to be that rigid and stiff. When it comes time to push pipes onto and that, I don't want the intercooler moving around a bunch because it's just a pain. But yeah, so I think the next job is getting all of the power steering cooler lines out.
2 hours later.
The power steering lines from factory are an absolute mess. It comes up out of the power steering box over here, and then it goes across the front cross member up to this side, and then they come across there like that, and then they come onto the cooler over here. And so I'll show you what I've done. It comes out of the power steering box, which is just there, and then this is where I cut those two lines, and you can see I've put it onto two clamps and then retained them together like this, so they're nice and sturdy, and then out to these two hoses. And so that's going to mount there just like that, and then these two hoses are going to connect to these two things here. All right, so I'm just flaring the ends there so that the hose has got somewhere to go. So if you've never done it before, you clamp it like that. This is the hardest bit, getting leverage. So then you have the two flared bits on it. That looks way better. That marks pretty much everything I needed to modify and change in the front. I did put a shorter belt on the power steering pump, so the pump's been tilted this way a little bit. We have rerouted the power steering lines, intercooler's all mounted. I imagine the next scene you'll probably see is me rolling over to General Metal Products to meet Bowden, who is going to be doing the stainless pipes. Yeah, let's go and see Bowden. First thing I've got to do is just gut this thing. I've got to get rid of the intake manifold and the top mount intercooler. And I also tigged up this abomination. It's actually my first time properly doing a job on the TIG, especially with like 30-year-old oil-filled alley out of a TD. But yeah, I'm hoping it'll hold 24 of boost. I guess we'll find that out today. So yeah, let's gut this thing, get all this crap out of here, and then Bowden can start eyeing up some pipes. So yeah, Bowden was just having a look at that intake manifold because I was just about to put it on the car, and so he's kind of worried that where there was trash in the well where I didn't clean it properly, it's kind of just put a bit of porosity in there, and you just don't want any holes or bits of crap in there. So he's just like drilling the main points where it looks a bit nasty, and he's just going to run the TIG back over it.
Well, even though it looks a little bit on the surface there, I'm going to say that's probably alright.
So that's the intake manifold all in. That's this side completely ready, I think. The only thing we're going to do to the other side is this is the old flange that goes to the outlet on the compressor housing. So we're going to cut out a new flange with the laser cutter, and then we're going to have a bit of stainless coming off it, and then we'll clamp to that just because this is facing in the wrong direction. We'll go over to the laser cutter and get that done. We're pretty much ready to start routing some pipes. All I had to do was expand one of the holes that's already there. And yeah, that's basically gonna go like that. Out of there, pop round and up into there.
What we might do, start from there, get that 90 in to that wall, get the 90 back out. We'll get the clock of that right, and then we'll go from there. Once we're up, then we're gonna have another join so we can actually get it in the car.
And if you need me to TIG it up, just let me know. Yeah. This isn't an actual weld that matters. This is just to tack it to a straight bit so that we can put it in the bandsaw.
Now with this one, see as it's already closed up, try and just do a little like 10mm run.
TIG genius.
Start cutting. We're still just touching the wheel arch there, if you can hear that. So what we might do is cut a little bit of straight off that one there as well. That'll give us plenty of room to run up through the middle between the front wall there and the wheel arch.
As long as we can get it out. Well, I won't find that out until we tack it.
Even 5mm might work like that there. Once you're in, then you're in. You're up. I'll turn you down a little bit.
I don't like being turned down.
What you seem to be doing a little bit there is holding it like that.
Right.
And it's pointing too far into that. You can see by the amount of heat that's going into that side of the tube.
Right.
But making sure that you're square to the join.
Right.
So that there, you're spreading the heat out evenly over the join.
I gotcha.
So it's going to grab it equally from both sides of the join. There you go. See how that's so much more even?
Yeah.
Seems to work a lot more consistently.
So yeah, if you're a little bit confused about what's going on, basically in order to get it to clamp in the bandsaw, you've got to tack it straight to it. So then you can clamp it in the machine, so then you can take 10mm off precisely.
Can you grab your fingers around that join and line that join up? That looks like that there. I'd be happy with that angle there.
Do you want to come around here and do a mark?
I might as well tack this together. Do you want me to do that tack?
Yeah. I'm bandsaw tacks only.
I'll push on it to close it up.
And so I can't overstate how helpful it is for my own growth with fabrication to be around mates like Bowden. I really do love to learn, and so watching people like this work really does mean a lot to me.
I like to use files rather than like a flap disc or a sanding pad. When you use a flap disc, it takes a lot more material off. When you go to weld that, you're welding the most amount of material possible without adding filler wire.
Yeah, okay.
Just rotate them the top towards you. Whoop, back a little bit. Yep. As long as we line your scribbles up, we're right. We got this one in position.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll cut the straight off this one to give ourselves much room before the wheel arch again. We'll line that up. If we need to cut the straight off that one, we'll do the same thing, get them as close as possible so it's a nice tight radius from the intercooler all the way back around through the wall. One
of the big perks of making your own pipes like this as opposed to buying a kit is a lot of the GU kits actually require you go through the passenger side wheel arch, and it is ugly as. That's why you see us doing these tight radiuses. It's to curl around the radiator support before you get to the fender arches on the inside of the engine bay. We'll get started on this side.
Nice.
Let's go, mate.
Look at that.
That's how you know I'm a boilie.
Good fit up is key though.
And me being a really good TIG welder.
That's right.
Bowden's just gone to make a coffee, so I've been tasked with tacking this up. She's stuck together. I did show you a lot of clips of us sort of, you know, cutting them down, tacking them up, getting them to fit. It got to a point where it was all the same crap, and so we just sort of sped through it and got it done. And we're just about to have a bit of a clean up, and then Bowden's going to do the final weld out. And so yeah, this is how it looks. I really like it. It looks nice and symmetrical from the front. This side we did first. That wasn't so bad. There's a straight pipe that comes down here, dips down under the washer bottle, then there's another silicone join, and then it curls around here and comes into the intercooler. On this side, it was a little bit more of a pain, particularly because the HT18 has a stupid flange that isn't super friendly to come out of, but we got that sorted out, and yeah, skirted down past the factory airbox here, but I'll give you a bit of a look at the final fit out. So this is what we've ended up with. This is the passenger side, which I believe is something like that. And then this is the cold side. And so I believe it'll be something like that. But yeah, so they're all tacked up. Now it's time to weld them up. dude. Gee, they turned out well. I can't wait till I can do that sort of stuff. What's your biggest tip for something like that? Like time, I guess, practice.
Just torch time. There's no other way of doing it. Just get the right people around you teaching you.
Yeah. I have done this a couple of times. I've never joined two pipes together, but just like gone around a pipe at Jonesy's before when he was doing his intercooler pipes. Yeah, that's unbelievable. We're just gonna do a little bead, like 180 from one another on the end of each one, just so when we clamp the hose, it can't slip back off. But yeah, that's wicked, dude. Let's do that and we'll get him in the car. It's bloody awesome. All right, so that's all done. As I mentioned earlier, Bowden needed a head for his TD a couple of years ago, and I had one sitting at home, so I supplied it, and I said, with the condition that when I show up for some intercooler pipes, you make some for me. And you finally paid up on that debt, mate. So I appreciate it. You've done a really good job. Looks awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's good.
Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it now, I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait. Told him this would happen and we not a minute late. Seen him down bad, now they trying to...
Alright, so another huge thanks and shout out to Bowden. This is the same night. I've just got home and I'm going to put the bull bar back on it. So yeah, here's a really simple way to see the size difference in cooling. As I said at the start of the video, whether you want to go top mount or front mount, doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of, you know, what compromise you want to make. Do you want to potentially get mud in it being on the front, or do you want to block being able to service it if it's on the top? And that's really the only choice you have to make. But either way, big is better. All right, let's get this bull bar on.
Try to hit me for the raise. Got a mill, now they coming with a blaze. Check the numbers, fam, I swear I'm getting paid. I'm a don just like the Perrier. It's one time when I'm looking at a face. On the low like I'm pushing up the pace. Told him come down and I'll meet him at a gate. Got a check and I bought myself a place. They get some money and they blow it on bait. I don't flex but I'm pushing all the weight. Told them all I swear I got is what it takes. Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it now, I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait. Told him this would happen and we not a minute late.
Okay, so that about wraps up this episode, front mount cooling the big GU. It's so much neater in here now, I can get to everything in the engine bay. But yeah, if you do have any questions about this process, please leave them down below. I do read all the comments and I answer all my comments. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, please like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And I'll catch you guys very soon. Thanks for watching.
Timmyhasheart. Like and subscribe.